All right, welcome back to Athlete's Pursuit. I'm your host, Joe Rodanis, and today I have everybody's very good friend, Coach Kendall Wood, aka Woody. Welcome.
Good to be here.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Joey.
So excited to have you.
I got the invite at last. I've only been waiting, checking my inbox every day.
Yeah, we've been trying to reach out to our people. It's been tough to get a reply.
Tough to reach.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. It's great. I wanted to have this talk with you because obviously we've been working together for a long time. And today I wanted to dive into just like a little bit more about like your journey in strength training and your experience as a woman with strength training, which I think is really important to talk about. So we'll dive into that. And I think the main thing today is really finding your voice, like your authenticity, which I know you've been talking a lot about on your social channel. Your social has been killing it, by the way.
Thank you, Joseph.
Been loving your talks, man.
I appreciate that.
They've been great.
That means a lot to me. It's feeling right. It's feeling like I'm really finding my footing and finding my voice, and I'm going to keep doing more of it.
Got to lean into it. But how did you get there? I mean, that's where we should go, because that's an evolution, right?
I agree. I mean, it all is honestly like just the evolution of myself. It begins with that. I mean, it's been a long journey. One of my favorite poets, I want to put this out there because I love poetry. One of my favorite poets, Rupi Kaur, speaks about this. And in life, I think like there are so many iterations of ourselves. And as Rupi puts it, she says, we're always becoming and unbecoming only to become again. Ooh. And I think that's so beautiful. I want to get it tattooed on my body. It's so beautiful. And it's a universal truth, and it's a timeless truth in that even when you get to a point when you think that you have it figured out, you really don't have it figured out. Like there's more to learn. There's always more to learn. Life is a learning experience. If you're not learning, if you're not iterating, if you're not trying and failing, you're just not doing it right. And so to peel back a lot of layers and to go back many years, a decade ago is when I got started in fitness.
Yeah. How did you even find your way into training? Like what was the early like experience like?
Yeah.
You remember like your first even class?
Absolutely. I remember my first class because it changed my life, Joe. I had moved to Los Angeles. I was working a job that by all accounts, like it was going well. I enjoyed the job. I was working in digital media. I was an editor. Okay. I was an editor for a website that was producing blog content essentially that was being pitched to millennials. So it was very much like emotion driven. There was some news, of course, but it was exciting for me because I was developing a connection with the user and with people who were like-minded in my age. And it felt right to me in the moment, but it really just wasn't like the full expression of myself. I even had a family member at the time tell me, like, she saw me working from home one day and she's like, I just feel like you're not yourself. Like this isn't making the most use of your personality. And that hit me hard. And sidebar, like I almost heard that a lot of times in my life, like this question of like, I feel like you're not yourself, or, you know, what happened to this version of you? Or, and when you hear those questions, it's like, it will shake you to your core because it makes you go within yourself and make you ask yourself, like, who am I really? Mm-hmm. And all of that comes back to this journey of like figuring out who you are and it being a lifelong journey. Even just a few years ago, I had people in higher positions than myself asking me that question. Who are you? What are you about? And it brings with it a lot of pressure. But it shouldn't feel like pressure because it is an exciting journey to be on. But coming back, I was working this job in media.
How old were you, by the way?
I was in my early 20s.
This is like right out of college, pretty much?
Yes. This was the job that I had right out of college, and I stayed in this job for about 3 years.
Okay.
I had moved to Los Angeles. I was still working this job, right? By all accounts, everything was going fine, but I felt like there was more I could be doing.
Yeah, it's just something like internal, like it doesn't like align fully.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was being called, right? When I was at work, I was doing the work and I was doing a great job at it. I was succeeding, but I didn't feel fulfilled.
It feels a little outside yourself in a way.
100%.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm checking the box.
Yeah.
What's missing?
Yeah.
And at this time, when I had moved to LA, I had discovered boxing, group fitness boxing. It was a small community, a small gym, changed my life. This was a time in my life when I was hungry, also for community, which, there's a thread of community that happens through my life and shifts, of course, in community, but the importance of community has remained very much the same. But this is small, tight-knit community, like-minded people who are there to have a good time, there to improve themselves, just cool people who accepted each other for who we were. I wanted to spend all my time there, Joe. I wanted to spend all my time there, and I was spending all my free time there. I was taking 2 classes a day, like back to back, spending hours there. It got to the point where I said, you know what? I'm going to work here part-time just so that I can actually be here for a purpose, but also be here to enjoy.
Yeah.
And then came my layoff. I got laid off. So, it forced my hand to say, like, I felt like I wasn't meant to be in this job, but now I'm no longer in this job. You don't got it anymore, girl.
Yeah.
It's time to make a change. The time is actually now.
Yeah.
I had no other option. So I went back to the gym and I said, I'm going to work here full time. And I went from making a very comfortable salary and checking the box and living a comfortable life to making $10 an hour. And it was a shock and it changed my life. Like, there is no beating around the bush. Layoffs completely suck. They suck. It is a massive life disruption. I was lucky at the time, I was in my early 20s. I didn't have anyone relying on me. I know a lot of people can relate to the feeling that comes with a layoff, but I also didn't have the pressure and responsibility of having people who depended on me.
Yeah, it's a much heavier, obviously, like
Oh my,
experience. Yeah, to
yes,
provide for other people, but it's scary
100%.
regardless.
It's scary regardless. And, there's no belittling or minimizing like the feeling that comes with it. But I think, once you get past the initial shock and the life disruption and this shakeup again of your identity, who you've known yourself as.
Yeah, it's a big point, actually.
There's opportunity. There's opportunity and there's power underneath of it, but you have to take advantage of that opportunity. So I said, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity, it shook me to my core. I'm paying rent here. I'm trying to live a new life in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I had to change a lot of things, and I definitely had to ask for help. I had to let go of my ego and my pride for a little bit there. I'm making $10 an hour.
Right. But you feel like you're being called to something.
It felt good to me, Joe. The fact that I was making $10 an hour was a non-factor. Aside from the fact that I needed to, keep paying the bills
right.
and live in my life. And if I wanted to stay in LA, I needed to figure it out.
Yeah.
The fact that I was making $10 an hour, you would never know because I was showing up every day with a smile on my face. And I loved what I was doing. And, I started believing in myself because I could see that I was making an impact on people and they liked learning from me. And this was a meaningful exchange that was happening. And that belief in myself grew and grew and grew. And I invested in becoming a certified personal trainer. And then I grew personal training clients. And again, when you're met with something that seems like a dead stop, which can happen in a lot of ways in life, not just with a layoff, right? When you're met with what seems like a dead stop, it can be a dead stop. It can be a dead stop, absolutely, if you let it be a dead stop, right? Yeah. But in my mind, I thought, well, I need to expound on this now. I can't just keep making $10 an hour. I need to get certified. I need to have more experience. I want more of this. What's good in my life, I want to multiply it.
Yeah.
So I got certified. I started picking up personal training clients. I got another job at a big box gym. And opportunities started showing up. And when I look back, and even myself in the moment, I remember thinking to myself, did they mean to reach out to me? Did they mean to accept me? Because I was so green and I did have so much to learn, but I was willing. I was willing and I was eager and I was able and I was malleable. And I think that was the difference that You and I have spoken about energy. When you open yourself up, when you open to receiving, and you're thinking in this mindset of abundance and I'm just going to accept whatever comes my way, rather than thinking in lack and scarcity. Oh, I got laid off, now I'm only making $10 an hour, and it becomes this woe is me,
Yeah.
victim mindset almost. You are setting the tone. You're setting the tone for
Yeah.
your life. You have that power, and you have to know that and accept it and take ownership of it. And so I started taking in these opportunities, and despite being thrown into environments where I was like, oh man, I really don't know what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I learned along the way. And so that was really like, the layoff was the catalyst. And then I started discovering who I was being called to be, how I was being called to like affect change and interact with people. I wasn't meant to be behind a computer
Yeah.
interacting with people. I was meant to be interacting with them face to face
Yeah.
and feeling this exchange of energy,
Yeah.
feeling this exchange of positivity and showing people the way.
Yeah.
And even though that was only the beginning 10 years ago, I mean, it's only gotten clear, it's only become clearer for me, and my message has only become like more refined, and I've only I've only believed in myself more and more that I do have the power to get better at what I'm doing, but also have the power to have more meaningful interactions
Yeah,
with
because
people.
it keeps reinforcing itself at this point. I mean,
Yes.
what I'm hearing, this is a massive point. I think
Yeah.
I recognize this journey, right? And I think that this is ultimately like a big part of what life is about, right? So it's individual to each of us as far as like what the calling is, obviously, but
Mhm.
we're being called. And so you're either recognizing it and accepting it and taking the call and answering that call, or to your point, you're not. You're ignoring it, and that's that point of you're standing still. And so those are two different realities, right? Because like your initial job where you feel like it's a little bit outside of yourself. You feel like you're reaching a little bit, like you're achieving, checking a box, as you put it, right?
Mhm.
But it's not like a fulfillment. It's not something internal related to like your growth or alignment. It feels like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Versus like that calling, it feels like it's moving through you. It feels like it's a bigger purpose, and it just feels very authentic and true to yourself, right? And it's like hearing you speak about that. It's like, how do you differentiate between these two feelings? Like, how do you recognize, the calling? Because these different energies are very important. And you said something that as you're in the gym, you're working, that these opportunities started to show up.
Mhm.
And I think that that's a sign that you're in your purpose.
Mhm.
That I'm relying on myself, and it's more of a through line of my job. Titles are going to change, opportunities are going to change, but I'm doing this. Like,
Yeah.
I love what I'm doing as a coach, right? But when you're in a job, then it feels like this on and off. Like I'm either employed or I'm not, and now I need a new one.
Mm.
And with this, there's no tie to. I'm like, I'm going to be doing this regardless. Like, I know this is going to be a route that I'm going to do for years to come,
Yep.
right? So job or not, I'm going to make this work. You know that it's always going to be there.
Right. Yeah, you said a couple of things there. Like, I'm relying on me.
Mm-hmm.
And then conversely, whereas if you're in a job with an obvious trajectory or one industry, you're relying on others
Yeah.
to catapult your career, to push your career along, to help you move up the, proverbial corporate ladder.
Yep.
Like, you're on a path and you can work hard. That's within your control to work hard and accelerate that path. But the difference here, which you just stated so plainly, was like, I'm relying on me. And then you start to get also these moments of feedback that you have to listen to, right? Like, we are getting feedback all the time. And feedback in my instance, which you mentioned, was like me being in the gym and feeling this like obvious exchange, feeling fulfilled, not feeling like I'm at my workplace, feeling like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. That was feedback, right? I think that I think that the process of like becoming like the highest version of yourself, the most well-rounded expression of yourself, like figuring out who you are and who you're supposed to be, is actually quite a lonely road. And I don't mean this in the sense of like, oh, that's devastating and sad. I just spoke about community and the importance of community. I mean it in the sense of like, this is within your control, and that is empowering, and that is also, motivating and liberating. Like, you can take the reins here. I talk a lot about Stoicism, and I'm talking a lot about Stoicism in some of my recent content
Yeah,
too,
notice. Yeah.
because I believe in it. Like, we've also had conversations about religion, which we don't need to get into, but the daily stoic in Stoicism serves as like, a guiding path for me. And it serves guiding principles. And there are 4 main guiding principles: wisdom, justice, temperance, and courage.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these principles point back to the same idea that you control what's within your control, and everything else just happens as it happens. And so coming back to this idea of like becoming the highest version of yourself, yeah, it can be a lonely road because it's you in the driver's seat. And I wish somebody told me that a long time ago so that I could face the music and understand what that meant. I had to learn it, and that's not a bad thing, It can feel very isolating before you have the experience, but when you start learning, like, that's what life is. Life is just a series of learning opportunities, right? We're constantly learning. Talked about this earlier. Like, if you're not learning well into your, most seasoned years, like, you're not taking advantage. We're experimenting and we're learning, we're gathering evidence, and we're gathering feedback all of the time. Failures are feedback. Okay, I did something wrong. Now what can I do to iterate and do better next time?
Yeah.
A failure is not a bad thing.
No, that's what Stoicism shows you, right? That it's more about like
Yes.
how to deal with it and like your relationship to it. Because if you see the
100%.
feedback as something personal, then again, you hit that sticking point where
Yeah.
you don't learn from it and grow. But if you're able to see it, because you can see failure as like a personal failure, where like I did something wrong,
Right.
and like it could almost turn into like self-loathing,
Mm-hmm.
versus meeting it simply with compassion,
Mm-hmm.
where like you can love yourself at the same time as recognizing I can be better,
100%.
right? Like those two things can also be true,
They can coexist.
and
yeah.
that changes everything,
Mhm.
right? Like just the simple idea of compassion
Yes.
and just having some love for yourself as you're going through this journey will change a lot of things.
100%. 100%. I think that, there are the Stoic values, the values of Stoicism, but then also like in my mind, I think about like ownership of my choices, ownership of my actions, like
Yeah, the accountability of it.
taking accountability, having trust in myself and belief in myself.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a very big one.
Allowing myself to make mistakes, having grace when I do make mistakes, continuing to have self-confidence despite sometimes it's wavering. Sure, we all have ebbs and flows. It's another guaranteed truth of life. There will be
Guaranteed.
ebbs and flows in
Yeah.
every way, shape, and form.
That's what we were talking about. That stuck with me. This was from, I believe it was from Zen Buddhism, that was saying that your quality of your life is related to the quality of your relationship with uncertainty. To be certain is almost insanity.
Yep.
It like doesn't exist.
No, we have to accept uncertainty. It's more courageous of us. I say this also in classes on tonal a lot. Discomfort is a virtue. It's more courageous of us to approach something that is unpredictable and riddled with uncertainty than to stay in our comfort zone. Stick with what's comfortable, stick with what's predictable. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep riding this path.
It's a nice warm spot to be in, man.
It's kind of like riding the corporate ladder. I know that in 3 years I'll get this promotion, or in 5 years I'll be here.
Yeah.
Like, why not shake things up? You're meant for something greater. And I know that, and I can say that with certainty to anybody, because we are all unique. And that sounds like such a blanket statement, but it's so the truth. Like, everyone's purpose on earth literally begins with their individuality and who you are, what you bring to the table at your core. It's not the way you look, it's not the way you talk, it's not how you dress, it's not what you do for work. It's who you are at your core. What makes you shine? What do people come to you for? What are
Yeah.
people asking you about? Like,
Yeah.
what in your life is thriving the most? Like,
That's a good point too, because people always ask, like, well, how do you know what the calling is? Like, how do you know what the purpose kind of is?
yeah,
It's always asked, right? And that I think is the recognition point. It's just when you're in conversations,
Yep.
what are people asking you about? What do you get asked a lot about, right? Like before I was doing fitness, I was getting asked about fitness,
yeah.
right? Tell me about to live. What do you eat for food? It was always coming up, no matter where I went, right? There was like a pull, and I see it with my wife, where she's always getting asked like about fashion, or about like design and decoration or food. And I'm like, man, these are indications, right? That the universe is saying something about you radiates this, right?
Right.
Where people want to learn from you about this.
Exactly. It's an obvious strength. That's your skill set right there.
It's really your superpower.
That's your superpower.
That's the unique thing about you.
Your authenticity is your superpower, and you should lean into that.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows. No one knows for certain when they're coming of age, like, this is where I'm meant to be. You can aspire for sure. That's how you ended up in your career and what you're doing. There are doctors and lawyers and whatever else, because you grew up thinking that that's what I'm going to be, that's what I want to be, and then you made it happen.
Yeah.
But when we're in our teens, when we enter college, if that's the path that we choose, we don't know who we're supposed to be. We're still figuring it out every day.
So uncommon, yeah. I mean, I suppose some people do.
Right.
Honestly, it sounds like you found yours pretty quick. Like, to be in the job for just a few years and then be like, man, I love boxing, I love coaching. Like that happened pretty fast, because like there is and can be like a period of just exploring, which
100.
I don't think is talked a lot about. Just this idea, especially like in American culture. Like when I was abroad for a period of time and I listened to how like Europeans and different people talked about like their lives, like there's an emphasis and like a support of like after college to just take time to explore, to just like try things. Like whatever you're interested in, like I like to cook, or I want to travel, or I'm into whatever thing you're into, acting, comedy, all this type of stuff, and you just go into all these things, right? And you just explore, right, without a motive, just to see like what keeps coming back.
Yeah.
What interests, like, just if you let everything go, like that, I think that's a big thing, of just the ability to let go.
Yes.
Of no predetermined, just let go and just follow interests. And like the thing that just keeps entering your life again, that keeps entering your mind, the thing you're curious about. What more information, what more feedback do you need?
Exactly. It's the same idea of like energy. Again, we were talking about energy, but also this, it's funny, it relates back to love. You hear all the time, like, or if you love something, let it go. If it comes back to you, it's meant to be.
Comes back, yeah.
Yeah,
there's truth in it.
There is truth in it. Yeah, no, if something keeps showing up, again, the idea of feedback and patterns, there are patterns in your life. If you're really struggling with this, sit down and put some thought into it. You know what I mean? Like, get a little introspective. Ask yourself the uncomfortable questions.
Yeah, get curious about yourself. Yeah.
Get curious. I think that we avoid what's uncomfortable far too much in an effort to like protect ourselves, or I think we've gotten too comfortable in this like fragile state.
Yeah, no, I think I absolutely believe that that's true. I think it shows up in really small ways too. Because if you're staying, you were mentioning this, if you stay in this period of comfort, or the things that are very familiar, which I think absolutely can be okay for a period of time. There's like seasons of life, right?
Right.
But I think if you stay there too long, you end up feeling less than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
because I think part of staying young and having a vitality to life is exactly what you mentioned. It's the ability to be curious, to be a beginner again, to learn again.
Mm.
That's the whole point. So that can show up in a lot of ways, and that's also why I think a lot of people pull to fitness. I think it can be an access point for people.
Yes.
That if you're you're working a job that may not be like your calling, this could be a different way to tap into that, because you get to a spot of learning yourself, of challenging yourself, right, and getting yourself uncomfortable. And so those principles carry over into your life so that you can explore that in what you do.
100%. The same discipline that is required in the gym to build the physique that you want is the same discipline that you need in life to build the life that you want and to become a person that you're proud of being.
Yeah.
And to get there, you have to be an advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to be your own biggest fan and always be seeking more, knowing that you're meant for more, never settling, never finding this plateau and just going, I'm good here. I'm just gonna chill here, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's always a next level. There's
Yeah.
always more. And yes, I think that for us, we found this through the gym. The gym was our catalyst. Discovering this level of discipline and how committing to something and showing up for ourselves and trusting the process,
Yeah.
owning our commitment. All of these things contributed to building trust in the self. And coming back to this idea of feedback, like the gym is not biased. The gym is very honest.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you get
It's a
what you
mirror.
give.
Yeah.
You get what you give, you know?
So let's talk about like setbacks, because even being in your calling, right? Like you're in a spot you want to be in. I mean, there's going to be hard moments, right? And how can you remember some that kind of made you have to grow even further? Maybe some moments where you thought about like quitting or pulling back, and how you stayed committed, what that required of you.
100%. So, yes, in the beginning, I started discovering more fulfillment through human connection, helping people. But I've still, to this day, been chipping away. What's the best path to me doing that? Like, what's the best medium for me to do this? And I came from teaching a small group fitness community, which was very fulfilling in its time. Timing is also everything, right?
True.
To, building a personal training business. And now, jump, several years, now we coach for Tonal, which is the biggest platform I have ever had, like the honor and responsibility of coaching,
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of people here that
Yeah.
we're talking about. So, yes, when I think about like coming from coaching just a few people in a group fitness class to now, I have continued, as I mentioned earlier, to like refine my message and figure out like what's the best way that I can make the most impact. But along the way, I have certainly questioned if this is the right path. I have found the feedback now that, hey, girl, you're on the right path. Look at you now. You're at Tonal, But there were many times in the beginning, when I went to college, for instance, I wanted to become a teacher. Okay. And then I thought I wanted to be a nurse. And this idea of like, let something go, it'll come back to you if it's meant to be.
Yeah.
The idea of becoming a nurse came back to me not once, not twice, but 3 times.
I actually remember you talking to me about this a
Yes.
few years ago.
I came so far as to apply for nursing programs.
Yeah.
Twice. Twice I applied. Twice I got in. Twice I got in, Joey, okay? And twice I said no, and I didn't go. And those were very difficult, pivotal decisions. However, I sat with the decision. I sat with myself, and I came to the conclusion based on where I was with the information that I had in the moment, which is the only the best that we can ever do. The information that you have in the moment, that's how you're going to make decisions, okay? You can't, which is why we say hindsight is 2020, right? We can't look back and say we would have done it differently. But the first time was when I got the job offer from Tonal. So it was either take the job offer or go to school. And so that was
Oh, wow.
really
Wow.
that was really a
Yeah,
battle,
yeah.
okay?
Two very different clear paths at the same time. Yeah.
That were both speaking to me. They were
Yeah.
both calling my name. And this time was coming off of the pandemic,
Mm.
which was a setback. To come back to your question, that was a major setback, but I used it to my advantage in the best way that I could to continue learning and progressing my knowledge through school and classes, and that would allow me to apply to nursing programs. And I also simultaneously used it to my advantage to grow my online personal brand. I was filming YouTube workouts, hosting live Instagram workouts multiple times a week. I was doing everything that I could with now this surplus of time that I had. This was a unique time, you recall,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
to figure it out, just to figure it out. There's going to be no decision made right now. I know that because this time is indefinite. This was when we didn't know when this thing would be ending.
Yeah. Had no idea.
But I'm going to use the time that I have to my advantage. I'm not going to let it pass me by, and I'm going to let it play out.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's within my control right now. I'm going to take advantage and use what's within my power to make some things happen. And then I'm just going to take the rest as it comes.
Yeah.
So I built a personal brand. I took the classes. At the end of the journey, which I didn't know would be the end of the journey, they both paid off. I got a job offer and a school offer. And so, yeah, that was really hard. But ultimately, I made the decision based on, again, the information that I had in the moment. I'm really loving this path that I'm on. I'm really loving this path. The idea of becoming a nurse. What was shiny to me about it was more care. Again, a deeper level of care for people in a true healthcare setting.
Yeah. The service part of it.
Service to people, connecting with people one-on-one,
Yeah.
being able to offer them a specific skill. Not to say that what we do as personal trainers is not a specific skill. It's a very specific skill, and it spans a lot of territory. But like, you know what I mean? This is this profession as a nurse, being at the bedside, coming in with knowing what I'm specifically treating, rather, that felt like this has legs, this has stability. I could do this for the rest of my life. And we're coming off of a really
Uncertain time.
uncertain time.
Yeah.
But ultimately I said, this is where I'm at now. Whether I can do this forever or not, I'm doing it now. And so I took the offer with Tonal. And it's been a blissful 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a ride for all of us. I mean,
Yes.
I was as you're talking about that, and then like going into the road of Tonal, I'm thinking about just even being here since we've been together, right? Because you came on about a year ahead of me, and then since then with New York, we've been on this ride simultaneously, right?
Yeah.
And think about when we first got here, the first year, and how many times you've had to reinvent yourself here as a coach.
Yep.
Because we've talked a lot about that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Just the growth of I'm in this spot, but then how do you continue to reinvent yourself in that way? And that goes back to what you were talking about of like shedding that skin, building a new one, right? And there's a process there too. But let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that is one of the greatest skills that anybody can learn. But you have to be able to do that, and some people block themselves from learning and growing. And so I'm curious to hear your take on that. Like, how do you constantly reinvent yourself? Like, what do you think that takes to be able to do?
I think evolution is a part of life, and yes, we can get caught up, and it all ties back to these same ideas and things that we've been talking about of getting too comfortable and complacent. You can get really stuck in a sense of comfort and complacency. And to move forward, you have to have courage to shed old layers and let go of things that are no longer serving you. You have to have courage to take advantage of new chapters and say goodbye to old ones. You have to have courage. And all the way through, you still need to be advocating for yourself. And is this the best thing for me? Is this the best thing for me? Again, we can look back and, hindsight is 2020. We can say, oh, I should have done this. We can't look forward. We can't predict the future. All we can do with is what we have in this very moment. And I think that there is skill in being malleable. It is a skill, and not being resistant to change, and in turn resisting like the very thing that is going to help you grow and help you evolve. A lot of people want to be stuck in their ways and keep doing the same thing that they've been doing, and they become disadvantaged because they're living in the past, in a sense. Like, the culture is evolving, time is evolving, industries are evolving. Even from when I started fitness 10 years ago, my journey that we've just spent all this time talking about has looked very different from what someone starting fitness today, what their journey would look like,
Yeah.
based on the evolutions of the fitness landscape. When I started, group fitness was at its peak. It was having a big moment.
Yeah.
We moved into the pandemic, at-home fitness. We still work in digital fitness, where a big part of our business is serving our at-home community. But at-home fitness arguably saw a big peak, maybe its biggest peak, during the pandemic.
Yeah.
We still continue to super serve that community because it's valuable, and there are people who see the value in working out at home. But now we're moving into a new era where training looks very different. Training continues to see ebbs and flows and shifts and peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And with your industry and with just the culture and time, like, you need to be willing to move along with it and be open to new opinions, be open to new approaches and ways of doing things. Where we can get stuck is of course, if we choose to remain the same and we stay rigid in our beliefs and our approach. But we can also get stuck if we look at what everyone else is doing and saying and try to adopt that as our own. Influence and inspiration is a beautiful thing. But as soon as we try to replicate, we lose, because that comes from a place of comparison. They're doing it better than me. They know more than me. You haven't even given yourself the chance yet.
Yeah.
To showcase, again, what makes you uniquely you.
Yeah.
You can disseminate the same truth, but you don't need to do it in the same way.
Yeah.
We all have something unique to offer, so it's going to be figuring out what that is. How are you going to present this?
Yeah.
How are you going to approach this that is different from the next person and the next person and the next person?
So good. Yeah. I mean, it really starts with a strong sense of self, because you can't do that without having that understanding and that belief in yourself, right? Which does take time, but once you have that, you get to a different place. And then, man, hearing you talk, I think it's so right. And I'm listening to you, and I'm like, I think this is, again, one of the beauties of life. I think this is like the entire point is, if you can really simplify this thing, it's like the second that I stop wanting to learn and be curious is the second, like, I feel like I'm dying in ways. And this can be in the biggest of ways and the smallest of ways, right? Because if you're not trying to challenge yourself, if you're not trying to grow, if you're not staying curious, you start to settle, and I think you start to move backwards, and it turns into resentment, comparison, envy, those types of things. But when you're on that path of like growth and reinventing yourself and trying to be curious, it becomes different. You look at things that are changed, and you instead of being mad about it or resentful about it, you become curious about it. And that challenges you to grow. And early, I think this has definitely been my experience, like reinventing yourself and learning about yourself, like when you're young and going through this is hard. I think it's very scary.
Yeah.
But now I see it as like the most fun process ever. Like seeing it more like an artist, like how you're growing into a new skin, right? And so you recognize that the failure you have, or like the setbacks you have, or the learning process of learning this new skill or this new approach, is not, as you're going through and you're making missteps, you don't take the failure as like, man, I suck at this. You take it as like, I'm learning right now. And as
Yeah.
you continue to do that, you're like, I'm going to get to a better spot because of this at the end of this. So then you see the whole process differently. Then you approach it going into it and you're like, I'm ready for this, man. I'm ready to do this, you know, not scared of the newness, not scared of the new challenge. I think there's massive tie back to this. Like,
Agreed.
to give you a personal example, like that's hitting really close to home with me right now, is like I recognized that I was like kind of maintaining in my own like training, right? Just doing the same thing, like on autopilot. And you're like, I got this down, right? I've been doing it for a long time. I got
Right.
my flow. I know it works, right?
It's working.
But I recognized that I was like, but I'm not challenging myself anymore. And so creating a brand new training plan, the idea was do everything that is so different from what I'm good at. And new schedule, new routine, new modalities, and things that are totally not my wheelhouse. And the process of just doing that alone makes you feel alive.
It's invigorating.
Super invigorating.
It's like, you know, you've drank the Kool-Aid finally. It's coming back to your analogy about being an artist, because this just drew such a picture in my mind. It's like, I like working with this palette of colors. I've created this beautiful landscape. I think I'm done. Oh no, I mixed the two wrong colors and I fudged it up. The whole thing is fudged up. But if you take a step back and you remain curious and you're hungry and you go, wait, how can I actually use this to my advantage? How can I change my perspective on this? You wipe the palette clean. You add in a whole new slate, a whole new palette of colors to pull from, okay? And now you're adding new layers. You're adding new layers to this landscape. And suddenly it's just manifests into something you've never even created before. And it's better than you ever even could have imagined. All these new layers, it gives a different perspective. It adds dimension. It adds value. And coming back to what you're talking about here, you've just taken something that you know, like an artist knows his style that is known and expected, and you've looked at it from a completely different perspective. And just that small change, all you did was go, yo, just look at this differently. You already have the knowledge to adapt and make the necessary changes. Just look at this differently and consider doing it differently. Consider the opportunity or the possibility that a different way or a different perspective might actually be better than what I've been doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And you've changed everything for yourself. You feel reinvigorated and excited, and the possibilities of where this could take you now are endless and uncertain.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself is exciting rather than something that should be feared.
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? Because if you tie it back to energy, because I know we obviously both believe in this fully, that like then what you're vibrating attracts like what's coming into your life, right? So if you're on this
Yes.
path of calling, a lot has to do with your energy. I mean, haven't you noticed that truly? That like just opportunities in your life have a lot to do with how you're just feeling about yourself
Yep.
in a phase of life, right?
100%.
So if you're feeling that stagnation, you know, you're probably not bringing out a great frequency, right? And if you don't believe in energy, I mean, think about it this way. That changes how you interact. That changes how you converse. That changes how the words that you say. That changes how you speak to your friends, your partner. And that has a ripple effect, right? And that's all that energy is. So, you know, if you can see it as new challenges, things that are going to stretch me a little bit, is more about how I can change myself internally to then vibrate something out into the world that's a little bit more radiant. That alone can change so many different things in your life. You know, you're just going to get something back that's way more powerful.
Totally. And coming back to this idea of, you know, the discipline that we use inside the gym is the same discipline that we employ in real life. It's the same idea here. Everything is connected. So if I am not thriving in my love life, that same energy is going to ripple into other areas of my life. But if what you're so worried about and focused on is your love life, then all of your energy is flowing to this negative aspect, whereas so many other areas of your life could be thriving. And you're flourishing in your social life, work is going amazing, you know, expending more energy there, placing more energy into the things that are going well, and giving yourself the chance to expand on those energies, and those positive outcomes will again ripple into the other areas of your life that maybe aren't thriving right now, like perhaps your love life. It's so funny to talk about this. My love life might need some work, but if you're so focused on what's going wrong, that's what's going to take up your energy. That's what's going to consume your mindset. Whereas if you focus on what's going right, and what's lifting you up and what's filling your cup,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to pour over.
No, so I've been reading about this too. The idea of just differentiation,
Mm-hmm.
which is the idea of having a strong sense of self, even in a committed relationship.
Yes.
So I've been learning this just recently getting married, right? And it translates across the board that if you are tying a sense of identity like into your partner or into a job, it's the same exact thing. Like this is who I am, so I'm like tied to this. Then you start to lose yourself.
Right.
And the second that you do that, because then you're sacrificing who you are, the things you like, the opinions you have, or the hobbies that you like to go after, the interests you like to explore. If you start to notice that you're pulling yourself into a way of not exploring those things and sacrificing yourself for the identity, it does both parties a massive disservice.
Totally.
So what I'm hearing you say is really like this is just about like getting curious about who you are, and the more that you can operate on that vibration and explore who you are and expand who you are, and expand that sense of self, then as you enter a committed relationship, you enter that calling, that career, you're also not tied to it, because you understand the power that you have. So if it were to leave, if it were to go, if the job were to change, it doesn't rattle you as much, because you're like, I'm anchored.
Exactly.
Like I know me. And the funny thing about that is the second that you do that, and as you do that, the relationship gets tighter, right? It becomes more powerful. The career takes off, because you can love something so much that you strangle it to death.
Oh yeah.
And so that does go back to the idea of I gotta let this go
Mm-hmm.
to allow all of it to flourish.
Yeah. And remaining anchored is just remembering who you are. That's what it is. It's remembering who you are, and it's never getting to a place where you do yourself a disservice to not let that be paramount. Really and truly, continuing to serve yourself is and should be one of your greatest priorities.
Agreed.
You cannot serve others. You cannot show up for others if you yourself are feeling like you've been lacking, the self-serving attention, or you've not been pouring into your own cup first.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, remaining anchored in who you are and giving yourself this, making yourself the initial priority allows everything else to thrive and flourish.
Yeah.
You have your own identity in a relationship. Your partner has their own identity. It's what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
If we lose sight of what we're bringing to the table, then our identity together isn't going to thrive.
Correct.
And it's the same thing with a job or any other environment.
Yeah.
As a friend, as a sister, as an employee, this is what I bring to the table. If I lose sight of it, then everyone around me is going to feel lost and at a loss. Because again, this is the most important thing.
It's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. I really think it's like the biggest thing, because in my view, this process of like self-actualization, becoming your best self that we're talking about, is at the core of all of this. And I'm in the mind, in my experience and my observations of life, that most people are doing the opposite. That you're chasing title, job, money, clothes, whatever, to create this feeling. But this is what attracts all of that. And I think achieving, the house, the car, the status, the clothes, whatever, all those things, if it comes from this place,
Sure.
is much different, because now it's flowing through you. You're attracting things versus chasing things
Mm-hmm.
to fill like an internal void, right? These are two very different energies.
100%.
So I'm like, you do this, you get all this stuff that you're talking about, but then it feels very authentic. It feels aligned with you,
Yep.
But I'm curious to kind of, I guess to end on this a little bit of where you would guide people to kind of go on this journey. Like, even if there's maybe books or things that you've read to help you get started doing this.
I am going to come back to the Daily Stoic because I believe that it is a palatable approach to self-guided transformation. And it comes back to this reminder of no one's coming. Like, this life is my story to tell. How I operate, how I act, how I behave, how I think, how I move, all of this is within my control. And having this daily reminder of how that applies to every environment, every scenario, every aspect of life is helpful in your personal development. And I think that we need to start there because, again, we're coming back to our identity, not crafting, but understanding who we are and making our actions and the things that are within our control, our outcomes reflective of that is a great place to start.
Yeah.
And the Daily Stoic begins at the top of the year in January. Buy it now. You don't have to start reading it at the top of January. You can jump in. Just jump in.
It's a great one.
I also told you that I was doing this, and we haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah.
But I recently had my birth chart read, and it was a fascinating experience. And without getting into the weeds of specifically what she said about me,
Yeah.
it was a confirming or affirming experience in that she basically told me who I am without knowing who I am. And it was an opportunity for me to go, yeah, it blew my mind because I'm like, this lady knows me, but she doesn't know me, but it was, yeah, that is who I am. You know what? Yeah, that is exactly who I am. This is what I stand for. This is where I thrive. This is where I excel. This is what I bring to relationships. This is who I am supposed to be, right? And my personal manifestation of that in my life has happened because of the choices that I have made. And I have crafted my own story through learning experiences and continuing to persist and pursue and become. And having this woman essentially tell me, like, you're on the right path, felt so good. It felt so good because I feel like I'm in a great place in my life. I feel like opportunities are coming. I feel open.
Yeah.
And at times I would be remiss not to say that I have felt like there's a possibility that I feel a little bit behind here. Like, maybe I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Like, some of my friends are in the same age as me, but they're in a different life stage. They're married, they have kids, whatever it might be. And at the risk of comparison, it's not about comparison. It's more so now bringing that back to myself, and rather than saying like, oh, I want to be just like that. It's like, yeah, I do want that for myself in life, but it's been a reflection of mine to say, have I made a misstep somewhere? Like, is this the right timing for me? And I do believe that timing is everything. So hearing what this astrologist had to say about my birth chart, it was confirming to me that the path that I have led and the life that I've led and the story that I've essentially written, and manifested
Mm-hmm.
is exactly right. Yeah, this is exactly where you're supposed to be at this time. And that has just felt so good to me. And it's been motivating and reassuring. And again, I feel like this renewed sense of optimism.
Yeah.
And I think that if anyone is in a place where maybe they share some of those feelings or they're early in their career, they're younger, or they're maybe at an impasse where they go, something's not right. I know I'm meant for more. Like, you don't need to be early in your career. You could be in your 40s, 50s, beyond, and decide that you want to make a change because you haven't lived out your calling. Get your birth chart read. Do a birth chart reading. See what it has to say. See if it provides you with any level of guidance. I think that it will. And in the least, you're going to find it to be a fascinating process.
Yeah, I'll have to do this.
Yeah,
It'll probably be
you
pretty
will.
funny.
And then we'll debrief.
Okay, we'll debrief. That could be another episode. Yeah, I've never done that before. But I will say that I love where you're at. I've noticed. I mean, we work so closely together, right? We've been through it, like so many iterations together. And I remember watching you, and like, because I can always see it like through the coaching, right? And you remember like when you were filming 8 Weeks to Lean.
Yes.
And I remember we talked about this a bit. Like you were
Mhm.
like, I'm trying some different things. I want to like reinvent how I'm doing this, like the approach. And I remember at the time, it was like kind of a new thing, and you're trying to like experiment and step into a new box. And ever since then, that program included, like you've really stepped into yourself, and you can feel it, you can see it, you know?
Thank you for noticing
It's
that.
an awesome thing, man.
That
No,
makes me feel really good.
dude, it's everything. When you see that, it's a different space, because then you can tell that you are just like, you are at peace, you are like in yourself. And then that's what I'm saying. That's the energy. Everything's going to be coming to you,
Yes.
and we've all been there, man, where the opposite is true, where you feel like you're reaching, you're chasing for something. You feel off balance that way.
Right.
And so that's the whole thing. Instead of chasing, instead of comparing, can you start getting competitive, like with yourself? Can you explore yourself? Can you compete with yourself? Can you get curious about yourself and just let things stem from there?
Yep.
A lot of things change. A lot of good comes from that place.
A lot of good comes from that place. Let go of the ego, let go of the fear, let go of the scarcity mindset, challenge yourself to do better, be better.
Yeah.
You are, your biggest competition.
Yeah. That's it. Compete with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Have some fun there.
That part.
Woody, you a legend, man.
Joey,
You're a legend.
this was so fun. Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, you know where to find us. We're on Tonal.
Also, the social medias.
And the social medias.
Mm-hmm.
Woody Snacks.
Woody Snacks.
Wait, well, how'd you get the name Woody Snacks? I have assumptions.
Yeah, you know that I do love food.
Correct. Yeah, that was my assumption.
I love food because of the emotional aspect. I mean, I obviously love the way that it tastes, but I've been, experiencing food from like cooking with my grandmother at a young age, cutting cucumbers over the sink, learning how to make biscuits and gravy, and all the way until now where I even, it's another profession that I considered taking, was going to cooking school.
Nice.
I even still, one of my dreams in life is to open up like a small coffee shop or a small pastry shop that serves both coffee and wine and desserts.
Oh, all your heavy hits.
Yeah, all the heavy hitters. But food brings people together, and there's emotional connection to it. There's memories connected to it, and I like to eat, period.
Yeah.
So
we share that love. Yeah.
Yeah, we do share that love. It's also, Woody is obviously a nickname of mine. My last name is Wood.
Yeah.
It's kind of become like what everyone calls me. No one calls me Kendall, at least in my career in the fitness realm anymore. So Woody Snacks, it's a double meaning. I eat my way through life. It's also snacks in terms of movement, in terms of this is my life moments, and yeah, it works.
No, it does work. It does work. All right, next time we're going to talk about food. We still got to we still got to make pasta together. So
Yes.
that might be one of our next little content pieces.
Please, I love that.
Yeah.
Invite me over.
And then we'll
Let's
eat.
chef it up.
We'll do it. We'll see you guys next time, man.
Peace out.